Good afternoon, YouTube world. This is Matt, and really excited to get this going. This Instagram Hockey Collectors Roundtable. We've been talking about doing this for a little while, and me and Matt Knob Cursive, Ryan, who of course is not here, so we're gonna, just give him a hard time when he shows up. This was his idea originally, but we're all here getting this thing going, and we're excited to talk some hockey with you. It's a really exciting time. The season's going again. We're all really pumped about that. The market is stronger than it's ever been, and we're really excited to talk about that as well. So for any of you that make it here from Instagram, again, we are all part of the Instagram community. This is created by us for you, mainly, and we'll see who straggles on in between. But I brought in some of my buddies on Instagram, some people whose opinions I value a lot and who I've really enjoyed getting to know since I've joined the community back in April. So we figured we'd go around, kind of introduce ourselves, talk about what we're doing on Instagram, why we enjoy it, and then we're going to hop into our topics. So first off, Vinny, welcome. It's nice to see you, fellow Pittsburgh fan. How are you?
Good to be here.
Yeah, nice. What is the Instagram like? How's that been for you? Because you and I joined almost at the same time. I mean, have you been enjoying that so far? And what's your collecting focus right now?
Yeah, it's been great. My focus is that guy back there.
Perfect.
So I've been collecting Lemieux since '89. I wasn't really into cards when I was real young, but probably around '89, my brothers, I have two brothers, all three of us got in around when Griffey was a rookie. And then I just started collecting until about 2000. And then I took a hiatus. And then C, who is my daughter, my youngest daughter, she said, "Get back in the cards, Dad." I said, "Oh, you might not want me to do that." And my wife just sat there and laughed at me. She goes, "Nah, go ahead, get a few things." Like I told Dave and Steve, I don't get just a few things. I went back full bore, and it's been pretty cool. Met a lot of cool people, all of you down here, and it's been fun. I haven't posted for like 3 or 4 days because I've been fixing up this office at my wife's behest. So she's been down here building to try to get everything together and organized, so I have an easier time doing these kind of things.
That's awesome.
It's been a good time. Awesome.
Good. Yeah, you've been a super valuable member of the community, and I've told people before you sent me like the most ridiculous, awesome care package that your daughter helped package up. So super kind of you to do that. Awesome to have you here. Well, Miles, you and I have interacted. All of us have interacted for quite a while, and it's funny. You associate everybody with their Instagram pictures. So, like for Ryan, I associate him with that dude from Slapshot until I actually met him. And then of course Gretzky is your picture. But yeah, it's nice to have you on here, Miles. How have things been going for you lately?
Going pretty well. Yeah, I kind of started collecting when I was a kid and got out of it when I was in high school and uni, and kind of got back into it last year when my parents brought my collection out and we bought our first home, and I finally decided to get my cards back. And since then, just kind of jumped into it, and I started browsing Instagram, and that was a deep, dark rabbit hole. And I think it was one of the 90s guys. He was posting cards, and I just was like, "Man, your cards are awesome. Like, love these types of posts." And he's like, "Hey, why don't you make an account? Just put cards up and people will follow and chat with you." I was like, "Okay, sure." I didn't want to tie it to like a specific era, so hockey card nostalgia just seemed to fit. And I don't know, it's been a lot of fun chatting with everyone on there, all of you guys and everyone out there, and seeing what people are putting up, whether it's 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way through to the modern stuff. It's really cool to be part of the community. It's a good time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know about all you guys, but I mean, I immediately felt welcomed. I think most of you. I know I met Nick a little bit later on through that Patrick Walk card, but everybody was just super chill and reaching out and saying hello and saying, "Man, you got a really nice collection." And that was something that was new for me. I mean, was that how it was for you too, Miles, when you got on there? Just like how welcoming everybody was? in the hobby
Yeah,
community?
like I think I was on Reddit originally, and like I think I put a card or two up, and like I had people just shit talk my cards. And then I jumped on Instagram, and right away guys were like, "Hey, welcome! Like that's a nice card you put up or whatever." And since then I've tried to do kind of the same. And if I see someone's new account go up and they're throwing sweet cards up, I'll reach out and say, "Hey, welcome! It's
That's
awesome to
awesome.
see what you're throwing up." So
Cool.
very, very different community from Reddit for cards, that's for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Well, cool. It's great to have you here. Well, Cartel, you and I have just recently met, but man, talk about a wealth of information. And the Black Panther behind you just totally sold me, so I know we'll get along great. So it's nice to have you here. How's Instagram been for you?
It's been fantastic, man. It's been mental health. It's been a mental health solution. Let's put it that way. I'm not a social media guy. I've been in and around the hobby for decades now, but I've always shied away from certain social media aspects. But someone did finally manage to wrench my arm and get me on there. And within a week or two, I'd become very close with, I'm just going to throw out some accounts there, Donnie B Collectibles and Electric_Cards. I feel like these were friends that I've had my entire life that I hadn't met yet. Like Miles mentioned, the community is very welcoming and positive, which is a very welcome thing nowadays. And I just was blown away. And I was upset that I hadn't been involved longer, to tell you the truth. So, as far as the hobby goes, I've always been around. I've seen so many big moments in the hobby. Vinny mentioned I hope I'm getting everyone's name right here, mentioned the Griffey Jr. in '89, the advent of grading in the late 90s, when I was spending a lot of time in New York. Since 2015, it's been hot and heavy since the release of the Connor McDavid. I I don't run it, but I'm involved in the Cardboard Coaches podcast that I'm involved with Coach Co, where we do a lot of this. The concept is we want to have something entertaining in the background for people to be listening to when they are organizing their stuff, opening a box, putting together a submission. I'm passionate about so many elements of the hobby. I dabble in other hobby worlds as well, but right now at the forefront is hockey cards first and foremost.
Awesome, man. Well, I think that's something that we are all bringing. We're all bringing a lot of different experiences and amount of experience in the hobby here, and it's going to be great to have you be a part of that. So thanks again for joining. Well, if you don't mind, Jimmy, I'm going to introduce you as the guy that can find almost any card you're looking for. And we all know this. That's why everybody's laughing. Like Jimmy is the guy that's going to hit you up like, dude, do you have this card? This Tebow that you've never seen on eBay? I'm like, I do not have it. And so the flea market guy is here. There you go. Jimmy, it's great to have you be a part of this, man. You've got a lot of experience all over the board with the sport and with collecting. So how's Instagram been for you? And yeah, how's that all been last couple of years here?
Yes, thanks for the introduction there, Matt. It's been nice getting to know you, and I've definitely had fun chasing down Tebow cards for you, because I think I mentioned when we first started talking that I was a bit of a Tebow collector myself. And then when I saw how passionate you were about it, I was like, you know what, it's time for some of these cards to change hands. And I especially like the Don Russ Elite, the Sign of the Times. Like I've seen two of those ones my entire collecting lifetime. So I'm happy to pass that one on to you.
Love that
but
card,
yeah, it's amazing. It's such a cool card. It's the only one I've ever seen signed. Like there's other ones. Like I think Nick, is it Howe and Eiserman have a signed card for that one?
Yeah, really.
I think I've seen one copy surface on eBay and it sold for silly money. But it's
I've
a
never seen one
card.
myself. Yeah.
It was years ago. It surfaced on eBay and it might have been something crazy like $800 US, or it was so long ago. But yeah, no, Instagram has been just more than I could have expected. Things really took off for me last year. I think I've been part of Instagram. It's probably coming to close to 3 years now. But last year, for whatever reason, things just skyrocketed for me. And it's been a blast. It's been so much fun. It's, I think I mentioned to you guys before, being a collector of 90s for, it's like, obviously as a kid, but in 2007 I got back into focusing mainly on 90s. And when I was hunting for stuff, I was made fun of, mocked. If I posted on message boards, like it's kind of like that guy got pushed, like they would get pushed to the corner. No one cared. So it just all of a sudden to be like the cool guy and to be so well received in the community is just such a change, because for me it was always about collecting what I enjoyed and chasing the things I enjoyed. Like I love finding things. I love finding rare cards. We had like long lost relatives that even when I was like 18, people in my family would be like, "Can you find them?" I'm like, "Sure." So I found my like grandpa's like long lost brother in Australia through the web. So like for me, like I just like, you can give me a card and it's just like a relentless pursuit. Like it doesn't care. I don't care how long it takes, 20 years, whatever. I will continue searching for that card like day in, day out until I find it. On the web, in person, like through contacts, like whatever. I'll keep on asking and I'll keep on searching. So again, if anyone ever needs to find anything, you've been looking for a long time, you know where to find me, Cardboard Adventures at Instagram. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, yeah, it's going to be really nice to have you here, especially because of your experience with the sport itself. You know, if and when we start moving towards talking about hockey and the season going on and some things are, involving that, I think you're going to be a valuable addition in that discussion as well. So Cartel either didn't like what you were saying or his computer died. So we're going to go with the second one, hopefully.
Yeah.
That means Nick is not the caboose anymore in
Oof.
the chat.
Okay.
Which is, yep, look at this. Oh, never mind.
Nah, he jumped back into his spot.
Yeah, he did. So Nick, people don't know, you and I had an amazing introduction in a sense. I bought a Jocelyn Tebow. Hey, welcome back, Cartel. Bought a Jocelyn Tebow atomic refractor from you. Yeah, we thought you got mad at Jimmy and just pieced out.
Just expect the technical difficulties. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. I can handle that. But yeah, so bought this card from you, and you said, and you and I reached out in the message, said, "Dude, I can't believe you have this. Thank you." And we started talking, and from there got a friendship going, and then you made your way to Instagram. How's that been for you since you've been there?
It's been amazing because, like Cartel, I've been out on social media for a long time. I think it's been almost 2 years since I got rid of Facebook, and I had nothing. My life was simpler, better. And so I was really reluctant. But I have to admit, since I've been back, I moderate what I have on my content. It's strictly hockey cards, strictly sports cards. So that way I don't see any of that garbage or filth that people tend to post throughout social media. We all know. Yeah. But like you said, the community is amazing. It's just like you post something and somebody's like Miles, was saying, and say, "Oh, that's a great card," or, Uncle Vinny posted a couple cards I'd never seen before that I wanted to get. And I was like, thanks, dude. I appreciate you posting this because I'd never seen this before, and it's just like, it's just great positive reinforcement, it seems, from everybody, guys like Jimmy that are helping find stuff for people. Like you were saying earlier about having felt like these were friends forever. A guy like Dollar Rookies, I talk to this guy like every day all of a sudden now, a month ago, and it's like, it's just amazing how it happens. But it's been great. But yeah, I pretty much was handed majority of my dad's collection. And like I said, I was starting to put a few things on eBay just so I could, kind of bring some more income in to buy some cards. And like you said, our friendship flourished from there, and it's been great. Yeah, no, it's been amazing.
Yeah, dude, I think that's great. I think it was you, and then you were able to help with another atomic refractor of some random player I've never heard of. Somebody actually PC'd him and was like, "Oh my gosh, my dream card." I mean, that's what this community's all about.
Yeah, Miles.
That was you.
That was
Miles?
me, man. Yeah, it was that Manilow card. I had a tough time tracking it down, and Nick just reached out and he's like, "Hey, do you want this?" It was one of those ones he mentioned on your podcast there, Matt.
Okay.
And he was just like, "Hey, do you want this?" I was like, "Sure, that's awesome."
That's great, man. Well, I just have to admit that right there, like that whole thing, like the community is just awesome because people have reached out to all of us. I know we can all agree, say, "Hey, do you need this?" And that's something I never experienced when I started doing Instagram with baseball, and it was more of just kind of a like fest on there, which is not bad. I think some people enjoy that, but there wasn't really much of a connection with other collectors. And as soon as I joined the hockey Instagram community, I had people like Miles and Jimmy and Vinny just reaching out, because Cartel and I hadn't met yet, just saying, "Hey, love the Tebows. I think I got a couple of these. Do you need these?" And like all of a sudden, my Tebow collection went to like 400 cards within like 3 months, all over the place. And it was overwhelming. And so I'm quite happy to be on there and I've seen everybody's collections is just as exciting as picking up a cool card for myself. I think we could agree on that too. Like when you see a friend like find that card they've been looking for years. Some of these '90s cards are like, I have never seen one of these, and just being able to see their excitement and all that is just as much fun as posting a card. To be honest with you,
I think
yeah.
I think Cartel and Nick hit the word right, like positive. I mean, I've seen like 99.9% positivity on there, and like everyone right now, it's like I really appreciate that from everybody. It's really good thing to step into, you know.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I mean,
We all need a little bit more of that. There's no doubt about that.
absolutely. What do you think, Cartel?
When I see a new account, what I'm trying to say is it rubs off on you because, like a couple of us have mentioned, like social media, I've always kind of had my guard up, and after a year now of experiencing what we've been talking about, when you see a new account show up, there's one I actually want to shout out, just because I love the fact that people are now comfortable showing up, whatever their genre, whatever their type of collection is. They can feel comfortable coming into the community and getting supported right away. I think we all know Jeremy Lee. He'll shout people out. I don't know if I'm still on though. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jeremy Lee will immediately shout people out, and I think that's awesome because it will immediately make them feel comfortable. There's a guy, the hockey helmets. I think some people might pronounce them Yofa, but they're Jofa or Yofa. Does anybody know? Is it Jofa?
I think it's Jofa. I think it's Jofa. Yeah, it's Jofa.
A guy named Jofa Cards showed up. He's
that guy's cool. Yeah,
posting all this great '90s stuff, and I just liked watching him get immediately welcomed in and getting comfortable. And that's the stuff that I love seeing every day. The hockey community is one of those communities where you're going to see so many different focuses. I don't want to like completely, pigeonhole the baseball or basketball, but you're going to see, the big three in baseball: Tatis, Acuna, Soto. You're going to see Luka Doncic and LeBron. In hockey, you're seeing people. Okay, so you got like I mentioned, you got the PMG, low serial number collectors. You have the specialized players collectors who will go after someone like Tebow, or if I decide to put together a Peter Ing PC. And then you've got the people chasing 90s and the modern. And I love all that. I love all that on display and available for us to look at. So I just love welcoming new people in right away so that you can get them going and part of the community as well.
Awesome. I guess I'll throw that around here before we get to our main topic. Vinny, what like, can you name something that really stood out to you, like when you got into the Instagram community that, like kind of separated it from, or maybe surprised you with your experience getting on there? I can't hear Vinny.
you're on mute, Vinny. There you go. You're good now.
Yeah, I have
Go
two
ahead.
mute buttons. So it was night and day to YouTube. So I came into YouTube and I was around for 2 years and I comment and say things and I was whatever. They totally ignored. And then I happened into Matt one night and he was talking to Dave Archer and I had Instagram and then I added both of them on Instagram. Then I started to talk to Ryan. Then I started to talk to Nick. And it was just a snowball. I talked to a bunch of guys. And then Dave and Steve have the Insert Revolution podcast. So that introduced me to like Bob Lewis, Ed, Wesker Griff, Dr. Exclusive, Paul. And Paul has a cool collection of Oilers stuff. It's awesome. I just love the variety of hockey, even though some of those people don't collect hockey, even though they're the hockey oracle. It's just it's a diverse community, and it's not about what you have. It's like Nick said, I posted a card. I was just like posting a card. And he's like, dude, I've never seen that before. And, I'm going to go grab the Iserman. See, that's the cool thing. It's not about, what's popular. Just throw anything out there that you like and then go from there. Someone else might like something else, but it gives somebody an idea. It doesn't have to be Luca or, Lacuna, like Martel said. It's whatever tickles your fancy. Just throw it out there. There's somebody out there that's gonna enjoy it or get an idea from it, and just be cool with each other. It's been awesome. I love Instagram. It's a good way, and then that led me back into YouTube, and this is like my third podcast with guys, so it's been great.
Awesome, dude. That's awesome. Anybody else? Nick, Miles, Jimmy, want to jump in? I mean, like anything that you hadn't had a chance to mention yet?
Well, I was just gonna say the beautiful thing about this hobby is there's no real rules. You can kind of do whatever you want. Like you're saying, you can PC any guy you want. You can collect sets. You can collect insert sets. There's no wrong, right, or anything. And that's what I love about Instagram is just seeing these specialized accounts. We got that Tom Barrasso, Master Collector, another guy. I just like seeing all that. I would never think to look at this stuff, but I'm like, this is really cool. And like I said, that's the amazing part about it. There's no rules. Right. Do whatever you want to do. And,
exactly.
That's what's great about it. That's what I love about it. Like you said, nothing but positivity so far.
Man, I was gonna do Tom Barrasso. That was where my focus was gonna be when I first started. I saw his account. I'm like, nope, like nobody's doing Tebow yet. So Tom Barrasso's got it all. I'll just let him have all those. It's impressive. He's got everything.
Exactly.
Jimmy, I think it's kind of cool too because you kind of came into this with like being kind of an OG '90s collector before it was popular type thing. So, do you feel like people have definitely done a lot of reaching out to you, asking about cards more or less? I mean, do you feel like that's kind of been your role on Instagram? Like people like, hey, can you tell me more about this type thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get probably, a couple messages every day, people asking about, certain cards or if I've seen this card or just like looking for information, which has been pretty neat. I get a lot of people saying, thanks for getting me back into collecting. I really enjoy your account. And I pulled out my old cards and are these worth anything? So I always get questions all the time and I'm more than happy to answer them. But yeah, I know people are always reaching out to me for information about the 90s. Cause like I said, I've been, obviously as a kid, I just chased that stuff extensively from like 1990 till 99. And then I took a bit of a break from 90s stuff. I was collecting like comics, baseball cards, Pokemon, other things. Still collected a bit of hockey, but not anything 90s is more than modern stuff. Right. And once 2007 rolled around, then it was just basically since then it's just been focusing on 90s and just I read through old Beckett a lot. I always love to find out how cards were distributed, especially like the really rare ones when things pop up. I'm like, how is this available? How could you get it? And I would dig and dig and dig on the internet and find nothing. So I just pour through old Beckett's and you'd find like a little tidbit of awesome. You find just like a little tidbit of information, right?
Look at that, man. Old school.
Yeah, that's cool.
2015.
Yeah, I know. 2015. But yeah, no, it's cool because you'd find like one tidbit of information and it was just like, it would lead to another thing, one after the other. And then you'd like discover, okay, this is how this card was distributed. And it's just so neat. And just talking to other collectors, like one guy at my big flea market knows like so much more about 90s than I do. Like I'm like, I'm like a Jedi in training basically with him. I ask him like any question I can about 90s that I don't know. So I've learned so much from him as well. But it's just, I'm happy to share my knowledge with other collectors.
Right. Well, and I just got to say too, like coming from the baseball community, if somebody had that dual auto that you eventually sold to me, they would have kind of been like, haha, I have this. Just want to let you know. And then that's it. And I'm like, geez, this is different. So when you came along, you're like, I have this. Eventually, I think I'm going to want to send it to you. Just want to let you know. And I was like, sweet. I don't even have to worry about that now.
Yeah.
That dude from Germany put that one up for like $300. I was like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, crazy. Just ridiculous.
Yeah, right. No, that's
yeah,
nice.
Absolutely. Like for me, if there's something that someone really wants that I have and it's not like a huge PC item, I want to get it in their collection. I'll try to be reasonable. I also got to consider what I paid for it. But as long as I'm not losing money, I'm more than happy to move it along to someone else for them to enjoy. But I love the 90s stuff. It just reminds me of my childhood and just thinking about being a kid, going on camping trips, and just sitting by the fire with my Beckett and just pouring through it. And like again, there's no internet like in '96, for example. So like you didn't even know what cards looked like unless you saw them like at a show or whatever. And that was really cool. That was really neat. and you just dream in your head like, oh, what does this card look like? And then sometimes you'd see one like in the back, and you're like, oh man, I need that card, even though you've never seen one. So when I got back into collecting 90s stuff, I just went for all that stuff I dreamed of as a kid I could never have. So it was really cool. It was a really neat experience.
We've definitely all had that. Miles, have you had that now that you're an adult? Like, remember those cards in the old Beckett's? You know, you're like, oh man, I'll never have that. Now you're like, let's go find one. You know?
Yeah, you read it and you read the description in the Beckett, and you're like, wow, like you look at the prices, that's one thing, but you also read the description and kind of the history of the set, and you look at the 1 centimeter by 1.5 centimeter square of the card, and you're like, yeah, I think I want that card. But like Jimmy was saying, you see it on Instagram in full color, and like a lot of guys like Nick do a really good job of like taking a like almost professional photo of a card, and it really brings that card out. It puts it in your hands virtually, right?
Dude, I just want to say, maybe that can be a topic for another day, but I just want to comment on everybody's got their own Instagram photography style. You know what I mean? Like, we've all got our, Vinny's got the oversized like magazine holder thing that he leans the card against, and then he'll try something else, and then you got Nick with the red background for that red hockey team that he likes, and then but I mean, everybody's got their own flavor, man, and that's for me, that was the coolest thing when I got to Instagram, because I was just like, oh, put the card on the stand, take a picture with good lighting, okay, whatever. Well, then I got this selfie light thing, and then I got like the jersey and the Beckett's and stuff. I'm like, man, there's so many cool things that you guys are trying, and I think it just kind of motivates us all to try something new, and do something different than just showing the card. So that for me has been one of the coolest things. I do want to comment, Carlos is in here and he was like, how come I'm not involved in this discussion? There's not enough room for that personality in this group of 8 people when we're all here. He can handle it himself, man. So and that's a compliment, Carlos, because we can't live up to that, man. But thanks. We got a lot of people here, man. This is great. We got 12 people here, so this has been good. Yeah.
That oversized holders because I bought the wrong size.
Oh, I thought that was just
that's why I used those for 6 months.
Okay.
I ordered them on eBay and I didn't pay attention to the size. They're really good for showing off boxes, and then I finally got 25 of the little stands, which is a lot better, a lot easier than trying to manipulate those big stands. So I adapted and overcame for a couple months.
Well, I got used to seeing your cards like that. I think we all did. So we thought it was just what you were doing. But Tom Barrasso Collector, you got a shout out before you got here. We were talking about your account, and you're the reason I don't collect Tom Barrasso, which is a good thing. So thank you I'm glad I found your account soon. Yeah, no, but that's the thing. Like, I started collecting Barrasso, and then I found his account, and he's like, "Oh, I've been looking for this one Pacific card forever," and I just bought it like the week before. I'm like, okay, it belongs in his collection for sure. So, again, that's just reinforcing what everybody does on this community. But I want to get to our main topic. We're coming up at about a half hour. I think we've had fun introducing ourselves, but when we were chatting last week, for those that don't know this, which is pretty much everybody, we kind of got together and talked about what this would look like. And Cartel, you brought up an awesome topic. And so I was going to give you the floor if you still remember how you phrased it, or just in general what it was. You brought this up, and it was like, man, we've got to talk about this. Because the market right now, can we all agree, the market is crazier and lively than it's ever been. And the hype, like, guy scores 2 goals in a game, his young gun goes up freaking $10. Joel Farabee looking at you for not doing anything against the Penguins 2 days ago.
$4 rookies.
Yeah, I know, poor dollar rookies. I wish he was here. We're supposed to have dollar rookies at Batting Up Curse, but they'll make it eventually. But yeah, so Cartel, what did you say? And let's dive into this topic for a bit.
Yeah, I'll take a moment away from looking at my Luke Kunin, Jake Evans, Pavel Beknevic Young Guns rookies here that are going to make me enough to add to my PC. So I guess it's kind of a it's a 2-pronged thing, right? I firmly believe the hockey community is one of the most devoted, cult-like markets that there are when it comes to sports cards. But I guess what we have to realize now, and what we have to pay attention to, is that there are eyes on the hockey market now that are new to the game, either actual hockey fans that want to get involved, returning collectors or fans, And then, of course, the kind of X factor of the market flippers and investors that we know are part of this, whether we like it or not, whether we have a degree of that in us. They're here. There's going to be a lot of guys probably approaching all of us about hockey cards that have very little previous experience or knowledge. So I guess what the discussion could be is, you know, to what level these various factors are influencing the market. A lot of us have been waiting for this, right? We've kind of been feeling a little left out. I mean, we were hearing about soccer before we were hearing about hockey. We always hear about the big three, which is basketball, football, baseball. We're finally having a little bit of time in the sun, and I think it's a worthy conversation about what's behind that, without forgetting that, you know, we're obviously a big part of it. We've always been here. But there are some new elements that have been introduced that I think are worth discussing, and how that affects us. Maybe Jimmy's going to, for the first time, have people who have no idea about the sport asking him about certain cards, and how he's going to tackle that. Is he going to take advantage of the situation? Is he going to be helpful? I mean, I'm sure we're all helpful to a degree. Right. But all those elements with this current crazy market and the people that are entering it, because it's not just going to be us, right?
Right. Well, you talked about new accounts. I see new accounts every day, people
Yep.
collecting hockey cards. So my input on that is I just think you have a lot of hockey fans who are doing exactly what we've all talked about. Discovering Instagram, seeing how awesome the community is, and being like, I'm jumping in. And then they kind of decide from there their focus. And that's my input on what's driving up the market. I think you get a lot of new enthusiastic collectors. Like, you know, Nick, you were just talking about, you had the collection, but you came in and were like, whoa, look at all these great cards that I can go get again. I think that right there is one of the biggest influencers for sure. It's just the amount of hockey fans that are rediscovering their passion for hockey. But what do you guys think?
Well, I definitely think that hockey, out of all the major sports, has been at the bottom of the totem pole for a long time, and was definitely due for a price correction for a long time. Like 90s basketball stuff got so hot, like, I don't know, like 6-7 years ago. Like Jordan stuff was just insane. And if you look at the prices of like 90s boxes for premium products, it's insane right now for basketball. And I knew that, especially like Wayne Gretzky, for example, and that record sale, that was long overdue, because like Gretzky rookies were so affordable for so long. And of all the major sports, like the top guys, like their cards were just, you know, ridiculously expensive forever. Like, I mean, look at baseball, like Mickey Mantle is like just insane. The stuff, you know, the prices that his stuff is worth. But yeah, no, hockey is starting to catch up a little bit. Again, the situation in the world right now helps where people are home more. They're revisiting, you know, their hobbies and things that they really enjoy. Again, for the most part, hockey fans might be in colder climates. And again, you know, now that we're home more than ever, you're revisiting, you know, those old card collections, and they're bringing back those warm, fuzzy feelings that you definitely need in a time like this, where you want to go back to like a safer time, when things were a little bit more positive. And I think people are diving back into the hobby. And I think we've touched as well, where people are coming from other markets, like not just card collecting, where like investors who are smart, who are seeing that opportunity, saying, whoa, hockey is way underpriced right now. I can pick up all this stuff for cheap. It's going to go up. There's going to be a correction at some point. And we're seeing that now. Like people are getting into hockey collecting because they realize that there's an opportunity, and especially a guy like McDavid, who's just unreal skills.
Dude,
You know, he's pulling people in, like, who are like basketball collectors or other sports, because like he's just so talented, and they see the potential for down the road what that stuff could be worth. Also, I think a big topic that it's percolating is Ovi potentially breaking Wayne Gretzky's goal scoring record that no one thought could ever be broken. You know, Ovi stuff is already hot, and you know, a Young Guns like a PSA 10's over like 1K. So what's going to happen to that card if he approaches or breaks Gretzky's record? That stuff's going to skyrocket. It's going to be insane. But again, he's got to stay healthy. He's got to get there. So there's a lot of interesting storylines going on right now with hockey that I think carry over to the hobby and make it, you know, a little bit more interesting.
Well, can I throw this to Nick, because I feel like off that, Nick, you got the collection from your dad. I don't know if anybody that doesn't know you, that's kind of your where you got your
Yep.
Instagram name, but you kind of brought yourself back in recently. What has been driving you to like really get back into hockey? Because I think you represent a lot of people who have recently got back in, driven by the cards they already had, as
Yep.
compared to me, who went and had to go buy them. So, what do you think? What's your input on this whole thing?
Yeah, see, my situation's kind of unique. As in, what brought me back was me and my wife purchased our first home in like February, March, right before everything started getting a little wild. And this whole time, my dad's had this collection. Back in the 90s, we used to go to the shows all the time. He was an intense collector. You guys have seen some of the pictures. 98% of what I have was his. A few things were mine as a kid that he gave me that he knew I would destroy, so he didn't give me anything too valuable. But yeah, like I said, I started bringing it home, man, and I just started going through it, and I was staying up till 3 a.m. I mean, and I'm an old man. I go to bed at 10, 9:30 at night, and I couldn't help myself, man. And then I'd wake up at 8 a.m. and I'm right back up there looking at it because there was just so much stuff. And like I said, you're bringing back old memories. I know you guys were talking earlier about some cards that you'd never seen before. You've seen in the Beckett, like, that you see on Instagram now. They were almost like mythic to me as a kid. You'd see or hear about them, but you never really actually saw one. But like I said, just bringing all my stuff back in, and then as soon as I just couldn't help myself. I just dove right back in, just. But yeah, like I said, I got all of it, and I've been having a ball. And like I said, it was some sleepless nights at first, but no regrets.
Well, I think he represents a lot of those types of, collectors, who come back in and they're like overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I can get these cards I wanted when I was a kid, and look at all this cool modern stuff, and look at all these things going on in the league right now. It's like, oh my God, where do I start?
Exactly.
I know, Miles, was your experience a little bit different? Did you have anything already, like cards that you had, or did you just kind of come in like me and like, all right, it's time to start getting cards?
No, I had a decently sizable collection, like probably 10 or 12,000 cards when I got out of it the first time, and they just were all in storage at my parents' place, and like nothing really special, like a lot of base cards, nothing really high value, but I think that's kind of what I've enjoyed so much, is like getting back into it. It's like I might not have the most valuable collection, but there's little details in there and little cards, and like just seeing what everyone's collecting, and everyone's at different stages of their collecting. Like I know there's GTT Sloan, like the guy collects Doug Waits, and like I've got a ton of Doug Waits, so like easy decision. I look at the card and I'm like, I've had this one forever, and if it does better in someone else's collection, I'll just throw it in the mail. But yeah, I had some, and now at this stage, I don't know about you guys, but when I got back into it, it was like, okay, well, how do I want to focus this collection, and where do I want to take this collection, and what do I want to do with it, right?
For sure. What about you, Vinny? I mean, what do you think is the biggest influence on where the market's at right now? Where do you think the majority of it's coming from?
Hard to say. I think the Lafreniere is what put all eyes on hockey. If you look at Cardboard Connection, for 3 weeks, he was number one. Boxes of Series 1, $139. When you see Synergy go from $70 pre-sale to $144 in 8 days, there's too much hype on a kid that he's +1 and has no points, no goals, no assists, no nothing. So did they bring him up too early? Most of these guys, there's certain guys that come up and they hit it off, but it's hockey. It's not going to be out the gate killer. Some guys take 2-3 years and then they're miraculous.
Right.
It just depends. I think that was a lot of the hype, and I feel bad for the kid that he's got all eyes on him, because he had a World Juniors and before the NHL he had the numbers, and I think that was probably the biggest part of the hype for hockey. I think people who didn't know, number one, the sport, number two, the hobby, jumped back in and got on a bandwagon of a guy. You know,
Right.
I think that was the train that left the station. So I could be wrong. I don't know. Like I don't hashtag invest. So
Right. Jeez. Well, that's something that I've noticed, and I don't know about some of you that have been here for a while, but I feel like hype for hockey right now is really driving the popularity of the cards. And so, my question for you guys next is, I'll go to Cartel first. Will this hype sustain? Like, will there be a new guy and then a new guy to hype just because of the new season, or what if Alexis dies off? Are we going to see the hype for hockey go down with it?
So I'm going to combine a few points here from Jimmy and Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
We had the perfect storm in the form of the hot prospect. You need that in the market. It seems to be so easy for the other sports. We needed that. Let's not forget, in baseball, they're hyping guys that won't hit the field for 3-4 years. I mean, the biggest prospects right now, Dominguez, Torkelson, I don't think they're going to necessarily be playing next year. And the prices are unbelievable. And that's just part of the baseball card game. It's casual for them. We go nuts over a number one draft pick, and we have found in hockey that's very risky. Particularly the last few years. Look, someone plays decent like Pedersen, and he's a $500 PSA 10 young gun. People have mixed feelings about the value, but it is what it is. We had the Gretzky sale, which was adding legitimacy to the value of hockey. Jimmy talked about. I feel like a lot of us, unfortunately, we just dragged our feet. It is absolutely a market correction. He used the term market correction. I've had people DM me, bro, the Yager, it's ridiculous, bro. That's not a $500 card. Are you kidding me? It's totally a $500 card. We've been dragging our feet. That's a market correction. That's not market irresponsibility. In that particular case, it's a correction. And we also, the third thing is the hockey season has started. We get to see these guys hit the ice and perform. A lot of people are telling me, they're DMing me like so much is riding on Alexis's shoulders. Not necessarily, man. We have a lot. We've got Ovechkin out there doing his thing. We've still got Connor. There's a really great account on here, Hockey Illuminati. That's a great resource, in my opinion, for new card collectors who just want to get the perspective of someone who focuses on the sport. He made a bold prediction that McDavid will hit 100 points in this shortened season. We get to see him do his thing. So that's what's going to sustain the hype, is these guys performing well. The way they put the divisions together, it's going to be exciting hockey. I don't know if that is going to affect new people that might not even be watching the sport, because I'm aware that there's hashtag invest people. Someone just messaged us to that. They're probably waking up and just watching eBay the way we're watching the games. I hope they start watching the games. I hope they start appreciating the beauty of hockey. God knows how many Americans have complained to me that they can't follow the puck. I don't get it. It makes me think of the Fox puck from the 90s. I'm sure some of us remember that.
The glowing puck, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's going to happen again. I don't know. But I think we're going to see it. We're definitely going to see it sustained. I have no worries about that. Even if Lafreniere is not what we expect him to be this first year, at least it has eyes on the Rangers market. And you know what? If he's not performing, they got Kakko. They got Breadman, who is a great representative of hockey. If you watch him play, they have exciting young goaltenders. It's good that eyes are on that market. I'm glad. I want the top markets performing. I want Toronto playing well with all their guys. I want New York doing their thing. I want. It's always good to see the LA Kings play well. I don't know if they're going to play well, but I think these are the things that are going to sustain the market and keep it going. And of course, like I said, we just got to be wary. There will be the investors poking around who probably know nothing about the sport.
Right.
And are going to be inquiring about the big cards. And we've seen that the 80s rookie cards a lot of them are becoming unattainable in top grades. And I'm taking self-responsibility on that. While I have a few, and I have a set of every year, I made sure to do that as I was growing up and I was collecting. But boy, I sure wish I had more Patrick Waugh rookie cards. I sure wish I had more Yzermans.
I have one.
Yeah, and you're lucky.
Nick. Thanks, Nick.
Should have kept that.
But
Yeah, I know.
if you're looking at some of those prices, people that are returning, the old collectors that are returning are like, hey, I want to grab that. Oh my God, I don't have $1,500 for a PSA 8 at this point. So
Man, a lot of good points there. Nick, I saw you unmute. Do you want to jump in off that? Springboard off that?
But he was just saying, you can't ignore the elephant in the room, the investors that are going to poke around. And like you said, it's been a long time coming for hockey. It's just, and like you said, you can't. These kids coming in at 18, Lafreniere. I mean, he's playing against grown men. That's the one difference between hockey and these other sports. I mean, it's a physical sport. There's a reason in football they won't let these guys come up for 3 years. I think it is 3 years after high school, because they're just not physically ready. So you expect these guys to kind of take a year or two. And like I said, he's in that Rangers market, so that's always gonna boost it. Like you said, there's other guys there. I have full confidence he's gonna be all right. He's just gonna take some time. He's playing with Panarin. He's just, there's a lot of talent there, and like you said, the market is getting corrected. Like Cartel said, I wish I would have kept a little bit more of my '80s stuff. Like I said, I make sure to have at least one of every set throughout that era. Kind of got rid of most of my dupes except for like my Yzerman rookies. But outside of that, like you said, it's a market that needed to be corrected, really. It was an all-time low. I mean, because I came back and I saw the basketball prices, and I could not believe the numbers I was seeing. I mean, I bought a Kobe Bryant Topps rookie for like $6 maybe 5 years ago, and my jaw's dropping looking at these biddings. It's wild to me. So, like you said, hockey it was a long time coming.
I think something I want to just point out is I've had this revelation with the whole Young Guns thing, because being in baseball and collecting A-Rod from the 90s for 3-4 years, like a basic rookie card, I was like, well, how can these things carry so much value? Like the Young Guns, there's thousands of them made for these players, yet the popularity was so high that the prices kept going up, and it really didn't make sense. And so I started noticing that right as I was getting into hockey here, and just completely blown away by it. And now I love what Jimmy said, the whole market correcting itself, man. Like, that's perfect, because this has been like, the popularity has always been there, but then all you got to do is sprinkle in a few new collectors and a couple of #invest people, and then keep us, super, I don't know, excited collectors in the market, and you've got a perfect storm,
I always tell people that I was telling people in 2015 when people were concerned right away with how many Connor McDavids were being printed. I was never concerned, because look, even today, there's still going to be people who hesitate with baseball cards. You can sit down with an investor right now who is into crypto and other, other different types of assets and tangible assets, and they'll tell you, you know what, I've always seen baseball cards as childish and I'm not interested. But they still want a Connor McDavid rookie card on their office table or their shelves. I'm telling you, I see this repeatedly. I work with people one-on-one, and they're in all sorts of, all different types of life situations and jobs, and they want to have a Connor McDavid, and they like a slab. You can even give them a GMA slab if you want. They just want a piece of plastic that has a Connor McDavid in it. It's such an iconic card. There is no shortage of desks and shelves in Canada, in Scandinavia, in the States, that there's enough demand for this iconic card. And if the Connor perseveres, all of them will, because the Connor was probably printed more so than the others. I mean, I'm pretty confident in saying that. And again, anyone who talks about, there's too many Doncic's, there's too many Connors, I think that the demand is still there. That's my personal opinion from what I'm seeing, especially off the path of actual, card investors and collectors. Everyone wants that card. So,
Jimmy, go ahead, man.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to chime in on the Young Guns thing. Just like one thing, like think about it, like especially in Canada, any Walmart you walk into, they have Upper Deck cards, always. Blasters, tins, flat packs, retail packs, it's always there. So you think about it, the average collector who might not, or older, that's not really big into the web, like for them, a lot of people will collect one set each year. Like they have that old mentality from the OPG days. So you can walk into any Walmart in Canada, go buy Upper Deck Series 1, Series 2. Like for me, like if you're thinking about where do I start, I'm getting back into the hobby. I don't know if I want to go back to the old stuff. Like get into the Young Guns. Like Young Guns, like they're the easiest thing to move. Like if you're trying to like acquire different assets, they're so easy to flip if you have a decent player. And again, like the availability of like the product is pretty good. I mean, even the year afterwards, you can still find it on the shelves. But again, if they do have a strong young gun like a Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews, like I remember, like in my area, the Walmart, within 6 months, the product was gone and never came back. But something like 2018-19 Upper Deck, I'm still seeing that. I can still buy that at Walmart right now if I wanted to. If it's got to have that strong rookie, like again, 2016-17 Upper Deck had like Matthews, Marner, Lane. Like there's so many good rookies. That product like was gone fast. And even when McDavid came out, people were buying that stuff nonstop. Like they couldn't keep it in stock. And within 6 months, the supply was completely gone. But typically, that's what people, when they message me about their collection, saying, is it worth anything? They're just hockey fans going to Walmart, getting the groceries. I'll grab a couple packs of this. I think, Matt, you said that you had a guy who cracked open a pack and got Carey Price in it, the young gun, right?
Yeah.
And it's been sitting there forever, and it was like perfectly mint. So, like, average people can just walk in Canada. I don't know what it's like in US, but you can just walk in and buy packs. It doesn't matter if you're a hockey fan, card collector, whatever. They're right there. They're by the checkout. They're in the toy section. They're so easy to acquire, but yet people love them. Like people love young guns.
Right. Miles and Vinny too. Miles, any input on the Young Guns thing? I mean, I don't know how much of that you collect, but
Not so much on the young guns. I was just going to comment. Like, I think you guys led off with like the Gretzky sale and the COVID thing. But is it fair to say, like, is this like from McDavid onwards? Is that like, can we call that the social media boom that's kind of kicked off? Is that fair to say, Cartel?
To a degree, I mean, definitely. Look, the whole point of 2015 for Upper Deck was to take advantage, and they did. I remember I was at the expo when they debuted Series 1. I've never had to stand in a line that long at the Upper Deck booth, and literally I had to leave the line because what the idea was line up to get into the break area, and I went and bought the boxes while my buddy was waiting in the lineup, and it was like people were like body checking each other to get to the table that had the lowest price at the time. I think I ended up paying about $80 a box for a couple boxes. I actually handed my buddy one that had a Connor in it. Go figure. But yeah, I've never seen a lineup like that. And and you saw families. There were kids. I'll never forget the guy with the sign around his neck buying Connors and freaking little kids out. It was madness, and the concept was to get as many new people into the hobby as possible. So I wasn't on social media at the time, so I don't know if that was a big part of the drive. I would imagine if Upper Deck was smart and their marketing team was smart, it was. But I also remember, don't forget 2013-14 was the dual rookie class, and Panini was also involved. There was a lot of marketing and advertising for that at local stores. So they've always been trying to push it. And then you saw the push this year with hashtag collect Alexis, right? So yeah, but 2015 probably is a good starting point for when things really blew up. And I just wanted to add what Jimmy was saying. Yeah, you can go on Walmart right now online, pick up a blaster. But I do just want to throw this out there, kind of in just to play devil's advocate. It's 1 in 4 packs, as we know, is the secret sauce for getting a young gun. And there are 50 young guns per set, right? Series 1, Series 2. I've seen guys go nuts buying 15, 16, 16, 17 products and getting shut out. I've seen guys buy 16, 17 product. Every box is a Marner or a Line or a Austin. It's not the easiest thing in the world. When you open up a basketball Prism box, not that I'm running around doing that by any means, but I've opened a few. You're getting a wide variety of rookies, and it's not this 1 in 4 situation. I do think there's something to that. It's not the easiest. Look, they print a ton of them. I'm not going to deny it. But for the average collector, if they're chasing Alexis, they may have trouble. But these blasters are now 1 young gun per box. I don't know if you guys know that. You might be lucky and get 2. It used to be 2 per box. So you potentially could go through a lot of blasters before you're hitting Alexis. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not going to deny that there's a ton made, and it's probably easier to source that than certain other cards. But I just wanted to toss that into the mix.
Cool. Yeah, I just opened a 12-tin case of 2021 Upper Deck today, and I pulled 1.
Okay.
And again, in the tins, you can get you're guaranteed 2 Young Guns, but in some tins I got 3. So you can, because of the odds, the way it works, and I think there's like 9 packs in a tin, so it's kind of off a little bit. So then sometimes you can pull 3, but yeah, 1 Alexis and 12 tins. I know people were complaining, saying, "Oh, it's too easy to pull." Some people pulled, the canvas and the Young Guns out of like
I've seen
one,
that.
yeah, out of one tin, which I guess is just completely lucky. But one thing I wanted to touch on with the McDavid, I don't know if you guys remember, Upper Deck actually did a contest with the photo on the card. They let people vote on what photo they wanted, and the one that they picked was the one that was completely anonymous. Like that's the one everyone voted for. It was like I think there's 2 or 3 options if I recall correctly, and fans could vote, and that's the one they picked. So that's a little bit of historical background behind the card as well.
What drove up the popularity even more. Now, Vinny, I know you're a big '90s guy. What's your take on the whole Young Guns thing? Have you been like pulled toward that a little bit with Gensel and some of the other pens, or do you stay away from that?
I put sets together every year, so
Okay.
I usually probably don't worry about the Young Guns. I kind of put the base set, and what Young Guns I get. Um, as far as Young Guns, I mean, they used to be. You could get a lot of Nicky Lindstrom Young Guns in a box back in the day. Now with the pack odds, like Carl said, you're crapshoot. So what I like to do is like I like numbered rookie cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go after a guy that I think I like. First off, I have to like him on the ice. If there's nothing there, I could care less. If it's somebody I like, I'll go after the trilogy. I'll go after allure. I'll go after credentials or whatever it is for hockey. Um, I like the numbered rookies. Allure's not numbered, but I'll go after the parallel. Just
Nice.
just something different. I don't follow the. If I pull a Young Gun with somebody good, I think I have Elias and I have Darlene. I mean, I pulled him out of a pack that CC and I opened, and that was it. You know,
Nice.
I really don't chase them. If I find them, I'll buy them. I know the guys. I'll I'll pick them up, but I'm not on the big train. I'm more on the train of the guy behind me than anything.
Gotcha. Well, I set out for a little side project, I've kind of told you guys about it, but it's been fun to pick up, I think like 30 or something. But not only just having the cards and watching the market do what it's doing, but it gets you bought into their season a little bit more, especially for somebody like me that's kind of rediscovered their passion for hockey from when I was a kid. I used to tell you all the names, I could pronounce them right, I knew all their stats and everything. And then I've been out for a few years, and so it's been a lot of fun to familiarize myself with the market and also get excited about, okay, I'm excited to see what Patrick Laine does this year. Like, is he going to get traded to Carolina? Is he going to stay there and have an amazing season? And then to see how that affects his market, and so I guess what I want to ask is, because we've seen this huge spike, right? Farabee, 4 points in one game against the terrible team that is the Penguins this year. His Young Guns, we were all talking about it. Young Guns goes from $5, now it's like $20, right? Are we going to keep seeing that, not with just Young Guns, but just with cards in the hockey market? Are we going to be seeing that, or is there going to be like a nice dip and balance for the rest of the year? What do you guys think?
Well, to be honest, it's that trend in hockey's been percolating for the last couple of years, I think,
Okay.
because I've seen again, like if a player has a big game, like a younger guy, I was always scrambling to go see what I could find of their cards, and before it wouldn't be as $5 to $20, but it might be 5 to 10. So
Okay.
the jump wasn't as big, but definitely now with other people getting into the hobby from different sports or investors, where a young player is having a good game or a couple of good games, and it's not common for the prices to skyrocket. Like look at Connor McDavid said, it was Jesse Pugliarvi, whoever you say his name. He's going to be a big part of our team this year. That card jumped like to like $40 because over one silly comment that Connor McDavid meant. made. And I think he's played 3 games now, and he has no points. But
Right.
again, it's just that's how volatile the market is right now. Like it's crazy.
I'm terrified of this market, man, because have you guys seen what Nick Suzuki's selling for? 400 US for a canvas PSA 10, 300 to 400 US for his Young Guns PSA 10 out of a product that I was getting. I could have been picking up hobby boxes for $80 of, I think it's Series 2. That also speaks to the intensity of some Canadian collectors, I believe, that focus on Canadian markets. But when a Nick Suzuki card is selling for more than you could have been picking up Nathan McKinnon 2-3 years ago, I honestly, when people are asking me certain questions about the market, I don't know what to say. Someone asked me about the Suzuki the other day on a Q&A I did on my story. And when I said that it has the potential to hit 500 US and PSA 10, I had some people DM me and tell me I'm crazy. And I'm like, look, I'm not even thinking about this sort of thing. Someone asked me the question and I answered it, and here we are. And God knows what, I mean, I wish I could offer more interesting insight, but it's a terrifying market right now. And again, if you're in a position, I feel like some of us here are in a good position, because if you can move, if I can sell this stack that I've got in front of me with hot performers, I'm going to put them into the cards I really want. Let's put it that way, right? So,
no, honestly, the Montreal market is just crazy generally, and they've been hungry for a great team for so long, and now they have some good young talent. But I also notice here in Canada, Quebec's been hit hard by COVID. I think there's a lot more people home as well, because I'm seeing even for me, I'm doing maybe close to 40% of all my packages that I'm sending out, it's Quebec. And there's a lot of collectors out there in Quebec. And that's what I always notice, is that, especially going to shows like the big sports expo, how many of the dealers were from Quebec. So I think it's a hockey card hotbed in there, and they love their team. Like, for example, like a Caden Primo Young Guns in the off season was selling for almost $30.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, price isn't going anywhere for a couple of years. They signed Jake Allen as their backup. Primo is not going to see any NHL time for 1 to 2 more years, and his Young Guns almost $30 already. Like, it was same with was it Zach Fucale, if I said his name right. His Young Guns was going for big bucks when they first came out, and I think he played 1 or 2 games with them, if not. I don't even know.
He's
but just Montreal. Montreal's just I feel like their fans are so starved for good players, and when any young player shows any potential, then they just jump all over it. They're just so excited. They love their hockey.
I got to ask Nick a question. Nick, you're a big fan of an American team, the Detroit Red Wings. Are you seeing the same kind of craziness over? I mean, I know they're not good right now, but they will be. We know that they're going to come back strong. They got good young players. Have you been seeing the same jumps with the Red Wings stuff, or is it kind of still?
I have. Not as much with the current guys. I've been trying to collect. I'm not a big, newer guy myself. I've been trying to collect all the Young Guns, the wings, because let's be honest, they're pretty cheap. There's no really big ones to go after. So I've been kind of collecting those as I've been going. But I will say, the Yzerman stuff, the Lidstrom stuff, the Fedorov stuff, I've just noticed over the last 6 months, man, it's all going up. And no, Miles, it's not me just driving up the prices myself. But Cartel said, I'm kind of terrified. But like I said, at least I got enough ammunition if I need to move some stuff, if there's something I really want. But yeah, I would say a lot of that stuff, a lot of that 90s Yzerman stuff has really been going up the past 6 months or so.
Where's this rookie right now? Raw rookie.
Pretty cheap, actually. You could probably get a Topps one for maybe $20. I don't know.
Yeah, Topps is around 20, and the OPG one's about $50 to $60. But if it's mint, it'll go for more.
Of course, yeah. They made a lot of that, I believe, especially that Topps. But yeah, I think everybody should at least have a Topps Yzerman rookie based on the availability and the affordability mainly. But like you said, those kinds, I've noticed his stuff really, that rookie stuff really hasn't. I haven't seen a huge jump. But like you said, anything with the high grade, we know what's going to happen. Especially a guy like that. So yeah, I'd definitely say it is. The wing stuff of the 90s has definitely been going up.
Oh yeah, I think we've talked about that, Nick, quite a bit this year. Where I think I even said to you before, Fedorov was completely forgotten in the hobby until this year, and I feel like he's just been remembered, especially on the wings.
Yep.
I find his stuff like for the Ducks or whatever doesn't do as well, but his wing stuff, like the rare 90 stuff, is insane. And same with Yzerman. Like it's crazy because like someone like Joe Sakic, for example, he's way undervalued. His stuff is so cheap.
Him and
It's
Yzerman,
ridiculous.
they
And
mirror each other so well.
But they mirrored each other.
Except the prices.
But before the prices were the same, and then all of a sudden Yzerman this year just through the roof. Like I couldn't believe it. Like I mean, long overdue, well deserved. But like someone like Sakic, like that's another. If people are like looking to collect 90s, good opportunity is Sakic right now because his stuff is just so cheap. It's just way below any of the big 90 stars. It's nowhere near like someone like Yzerman or even Fedorov right now.
It's running down the line. We saw Mario and Patrick explode. I think I don't even want to repeat it, but you guys said the names. Those are next. There's a lot of big
Solani,
names.
He's got to be in that discussion, right?
Forsberg,
Brett
yeah.
Hall.
If you're
Demus
looking,
are already moving up.
Burry's been a big one too. I noticed.
Oh, Burry's insane right now.
Burry's through the roof. Just go on Instagram. I got all those Burry guys are great. There's so many of them though. It's like the '90s stuff. There's just the Burry guys are always there too.
No, you're right, Cartel. There's more and more names because people are going to move down the line, right? Can't get Forsberg now. Guess I'll go for Sakic. And now that we've mentioned Sakic, well, there goes a spike on that, right? No, but seriously, like it's going to be the next guys. Once we get to Jocelyn Thibault, you know that we're done. We're done for. Because like he was a great player to me, but he wasn't like those guys. So
well, just putting it out there that do the research. I mean. And by the way, this is fun. When I do research on, I'm not going to lie, I'm heavy right now in the 80s, 90s investing, and I'm getting a chance to refresh my memories and my statistical knowledge. But you want to pay attention because you are going to start picking and choosing guys. It's guys that have the credentials like Stanley Cup rings, awards, something special about them. Mike Modano is considered perhaps as the best American player of all time. You want to look for things like that because in the case of a lot of the 90s stars, like Matt Sundin comes to my head, he has a strong cult following, not necessarily those types of credentials. And then you can make your decision about what the value should be based on that. Because Sakic is a great example of a guy who's got it all and should probably have more eyes on him. So,
right. Vinny, you want to add anything to this? I saw that you unmuted, but I wasn't sure. Do you see anybody else, Vinny, that could be going on the up?
There's so many names. Yeah, I just wanted to show Nick. My wife said there's not enough red and white in here. So
I like it. Add a little bit more to it.
Yeah. So that's
all
my other
team.
team.
That's what we got in here is just red and white.
Yeah. Black and gold, red and white, whether it's the Caps or the Red Wings.
You cannot have Red Wing stuff with Penguin stuff, man. Like
I think the Penguins
favorite
Capitals thing's weirder. I think that's weirder. The Penguins Capitals thing.
Yeah,
I'm
a hockey guy. I love all of hockey. I just grew up loving every team except Philadelphia. But then there was the Legion of Doom, which I fell in love with. So
Messier.
Yeah,
Messier is another good one.
Yep.
Robitaille, Gilmore. I could go on.
There's just endless guys. Yeah,
mention some goalies, fellas. Like, come on,
Dougie Gilmore's a big one.
It's already happened. Gilmore's already happened. There's a crazy there's a crazy Gilmore collector on Instagram who has insane cards, and there was like a Pinnacle Epic purple season or game or something crazy, some high level Epic card that was purple, sold for 500 Canadian. Wow. $500 at auction. There's a couple Gilmore collectors right now that are doing what like Bure collectors did, where they're just fighting over certain cards. But yeah, Gilmore's already started. Messier, like again, his earlier stuff, it seems a little bit more hot right now. The other Rangers and Canucks stuff hasn't seemed to catch on as much yet. But definitely anything the 80s Oilers is hot. Paul Coffey's another guy who's starting to get some more hobby love again, he's been gone for a long time. But yeah, guys like Noondike, like people don't really talk about him too much. I have one guy who asked me for Noondike cards, and that's about it. But he was a great player. He was really solid. And a guy like Ron Francis, for example, too. The hard part is, you know what? I'll touch on that. And again,
you guys are ruining my day.
See, the hard part
Brian
is,
Leach.
Yeah, Brian Leach. But those are the guys that, like, for example, like no one, like when Ron Francis was in the league, no one collected him. Like I don't know why no one was like crazy for him, and that's the hard part. So like if there was a following before, there's a really high possibility that I'll come back. But with a guy like Francis, it's like there's so much opportunity there, but do people really want Francis? That's my question. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the top scorers of all time. So why wouldn't you want him? But again, it's just go ahead.
We'll be seeing him in headlines. He's involved with the Kraken.
Yep.
Right here, man. I mean, he's the GM of the Kraken. I actually pulled an artist-proof zenith of him, and I was like, I guess I'm keeping that. You know, like he's a GM of the team that I'm going to be a huge fan of for sure.
And, that helps a lot. Like if a guy is back in the public eye or in the public eye, or if they're private, like a guy like Paul Correa, for example. His cards are like way undervalued. Like they were so expensive in the 90s, but I don't know if I ever see them coming back because he likes his privacy. He just doesn't like to be bothered. I mentioned to you guys when we were chatting last week, Denny Savard. Who hears about Denny Savard these days? Nobody. I mentioned he runs like his own frozen pizza company in Chicago area, cool. But he's like totally quiet guy. He was amazing. He was one of the best 80s players. You never hear about him, and his cards don't really move. Like his rookie 81, 82 OPG is beautiful. That used to be a strong seller during his playing days, but now it's pretty easily obtainable for a good price.
Did you guys know that Adam Oates is like the premier number one-on-one hockey coach like in the world today that professionals reach out to for help? That's what Adam Oates is doing right now.
I didn't know that. That's cool. He's another guy that I feel like doesn't get much hobby love.
Yes. Yeah. Pat LaFontaine, guys like that.
Pierre Turgeon.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Pierre Turgeon.
Al McGinnis. You could just keep going. Yeah, John LeClaire. The LeClaire guy too on there's got some pretty cool stuff.
Oh yeah, he's got
Tony Amonte. There's just all kinds of guys. Like I said, you can just go on. Mark Recchi, a guy who was he 12th all time in points?
Yeah.
Yep,
Miles, we need to get some goalie names out here, man. Help me out. I'm thinking like I refuse to say Mike Richter because I didn't like him when I was collecting in the 90s. But yeah, Fear, Van Beesbrook,
Hextall, Van Beesbrook.
Yeah.
There's a cult following with those goalies,
who else,
as we all know.
Oh, I was just gonna say like the usual like Brodeur and Hasek, but you've got other guys too that like card players that never had cards when they were actually playing. Like you see some pretty nice Tretiak products now, and it's like you never see. Yeah. But I mean, like there's a guy at my work, like he's a goalie, and like he's got Tretiak's jersey, and it looks like it's a really nice jersey. It's a lot of history there.
Right.
Oh, Keith Kachuk.
Now Keith Kachuk has turned into two Keith Kachucks. So
that was my pick last week. Sorry. Yeah.
But no, I mean it's there's so many guys. We should probably stop before Cartel goes broke. But I think we can all agree there's a lot of potential for growth still, and we touched on it at the very beginning of this topic. It is correcting itself, and it's going to continue to do that. And more of these people, either former collectors, new collectors, kind of trickling in. People leaving the basketball, baseball market. Okay, this is too expensive. I loved hockey as a kid. Oh, there's the team. Like my buddy getting into collecting the Nashville Predators, Ryan Molinix. He's the bugs got him. He's like Philip Forsberg, Pekka Rinne, Juuse Saros. He's all in, and there's a lot of that happening right now, especially with hockey finally coming back. Because once NFL's gone, people that don't like basketball, hockey's all they got. So, I just think we're going to continue seeing this trend up. And if I could, I don't know, one piece of advice I can think of is if you can get stuff, you get this stuff now. Don't wait.
Oh man,
still going up.
If you wait,
elevator's going up.
I'll get that card later on down the road. Again, I'm kicking myself over that Z Gold. I went and looked at the final price. I'm like, I should have sold some things to make that card happen because I probably won't see one again for that price. It'll be more. So get going now.
No hesitation today. No hesitation, whether it's your PC or an investment. I was telling Coach Ko on my podcast because he was he's actually I really appreciate a newbie to the sport, and that's our dynamic. Sorry, not to the sport by any means. He loves hockey, but he's new to collecting. Mm-hmm. And so he was saying, I grew up loving Sundin. Maybe I should look into that. This was weeks ago. I told him, do it right now. Do not wait for that premier rookie card to blow up. And it has. And I'm telling people, do not hesitate.
Yeah, absolutely. A great piece of advice I got from a collecting friend who's huge into comics and has the biggest, extensive, craziest collection I've ever seen in my life. But he says, you don't regret the purchases you make, it's the ones you don't that you regret. And I always live by that. By like again, like if you're, let's just say you're gonna buy something, maybe outside of eBay, you're in person or whatever. I always try to like bundle other things in that I'm like, well, it's not PC, but I can make some money on this. So I always try to sell off a little bit of stuff to make my money back. Again, so you're not totally eating the cost. Like you might see a card, okay, it's $200 right now. I know this is gonna be $400. What like I'm gonna buy it now. What can I sell in my collection that's not as important, that doesn't have growth, that I can recover that money? So again, like it's really hard these days just to be a collector. Like if you're basically just always have money going out, you really are going to slow down. Like for me, and it was like basically when COVID hit, and I wasn't sure what was going to go happen with my job. That I said, okay, no purchases. I didn't buy anything for 2 months. And when you're not buying stuff because you don't have money or you're afraid of your future, it's not as fun. It's fun when you're like always active. You're always acquiring new things, moving things. So yeah, so like for me, it's just I got to a point where I was that kind of collector for a long time, just money going out, product coming in. And then I realized, hey, if I want to keep on doing this, like for the rest of my life, I got to have a flow through. I got to have cards come in, cards come out, you know, figure out what I like, focus on collecting that or anything that has growth potential, hold on to it. And you got to know when to hold up and when to fold up. Kenny Rogers said it the best, but like, seriously, like there's some things where it's like, there's some things where you're like, okay, like this is reaches max value. I don't see it going any higher. I like it. I'll let it go and I'll get it back later. I did that with a lot. Like when I used to collect baseball, there'd be guys who'd be insanely hot. I'm like, okay, they're way over their head right now. I'll sell off my cards of them and get them back at a later date. And I know it's sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes like, oh, I sold it for 400 and now it's 1,000 and I'll never get it again. But that's a very small percentage, to be honest. So
Yeah, that doesn't happen that often.
yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Well, I got one more question to close it up. I think hour and a half is kind of a good sweet spot for us. You just brought up something that I'm curious what you all think, and that's this. Most guys, yeah, you can say that we've reached a ceiling, but with hockey right now, with all the market correction going on, can we even say that we can look at a card and say, I mean, obviously, like take a Z Team Mario Lemieux for $300. Okay, that's way over where it should be, but like. Are we even at that point in hockey right now, or are we still in like this? You need to get it now because we're not even there yet. What do you think, Miles? I know, Vinny, I mean, we haven't heard from you guys in a little bit, but and Nick, like, are we there yet? Is anything?
I think we're still going up. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, look at this OPG Premier boom. That kind of came out of nowhere, and it's just going to be the next thing. Who knows what it's going to be? Yeah, no, I think we're definitely still going up. We'll see what happens, obviously. But every day you're being amazed by a new price selling for something. So
No kidding.
until I stop being shocked and surprised, which I should stop be. I mean, like, Cartel was saying, if something sells for something, that's what it's worth. Plain and simple.
Right.
If it's valued like that to somebody, then that's what it's worth. Period. But like you said, I still think we're going up. And we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Miles, want to jump in on that? What do you think, man?
Yeah, I was gonna say like we touched on it earlier, like it's not really normal times, and I think that's starting to fuel the boom. I think that ceiling hasn't quite been reached yet. I can see when things are kind of back to normal again. Carlos has a good point there. They're really common stuff. Buy it nows on eBay, like buy it nows used to be like once in a while you'd see it. Now it's like everyone sets their price point and they try and stick to it. And for me, I'm a collector. Where I live, I don't really have the option to sell stuff quite as easily, so I'm collecting, and it's kind of tough when a guy pegs a card and I can look back at Watch Counter, like the eBay history, and that card is sold for like $1 or $2, and the guy's trying to get 8 or 10 out of me. And it sounds cheap and petty, but it's like you can't set the price like that, right?
Right. Vinny, what do you think, man? Do you agree? Are we seeing? Are we getting close to a ceiling, or are we is it just like we're going rocket ship? We're just headed straight up.
It's gonna be. You're gonna have to zig while others zag, because there's gonna be bandwagons, and then they're gonna jump from that bandwagon to another wagon, and then that stuff will start to go down. I think that's the only way in this market, because the overall trend's up. I think what you have to do is find trains that haven't left the station yet, number one. And number two, when you see the dip, buy the dip, I guess. I'm talking a lot of terms that aren't in my normal collecting realm, since I'm a collector and not a seller most of the time. I trade, I do things like that. But zig bother or zag, Dave and Steve say it a lot, try to figure out what's next, what's going to dip, go from, be out there looking at everything.
Right.
It's the best way to keep your eyes open on everything. I think that's the best way to do. Watch the trends. I looked at Card Ladder the other day just to see what Alexis Lafreniere was doing, and just to see the trend. I'm just curious, not for that I'm going to go out and buy one,
Right.
but I just like to watch and see what everything's doing.
If he struggles for like 2-3 weeks here and that thing dips under $100, that could be like a do I come in and grab this, before things get crazy again? I think that's just something to look at, those kind of trends for sure, man. And I will say though, part of my collection, the reason why I haven't had to break the bank for some of the cards is meeting the people in the Instagram community, and they're like, hey, like for Jimmy, I've got this Tebow auto. Get fair price, get the card. You're not breaking the bank. So reach out to people, like anybody that watches this is kind of new. Reach out to all of us and ask. You never know who's got something or who has a bead on a card that you're looking for. So you don't have to go to eBay and there's a guy with a freaking. We know the eBay users. They're not really big in the hockey community, but in the baseball world, there's like those 2 sellers, 3 sellers that are just like ridiculous prices. So you find a guy like that who's got your card at $500 or buy it now, but it's only a $200 card. It's like great, so something to keep in mind for sure.
Yeah. Well, one piece of advice I just have for anyone watching who, funds might be tight right now. It is that, I guess, a lot of uncertainty in the world these days. Time might be on your side. You might not have the money, but your time's on your side. So study the markets. Like, go through all the different websites that sell cards. Go through eBay closed listings. Like, get a feel for the market and what's available and what's not. Because I guarantee one day you will have money. If you're a collector, I feel like it never leaves you. You will come back to it. Again, we don't always have the funds to buy the things we want, but stay in tune with the market and what's available. Because you get to a point where you just see a car, you're like, I haven't seen that in like 5 years, and you instantly know it's a good buy. Pick it up. So like that's just my advice to like anyone. It's just like study the market. Like, and if there's stuff you haven't seen for a long time, like for me, I'm lucky in my area. There's lots of places where I can actually go buy cards in person and look at them. I go to lots of shows. So like, for example, like centered 82, 83 Grant Fuhr rookie. I don't see those very often. So recently I saw one. I was like, oh crap, I got to buy that. I don't care what the price is. Like, there's certain things you don't see. Like, especially like one thing like going to shows and things like that. The older cards, 50s, 60s, 70s, even the 70s now, even 80s. You don't see stuff in high grade, and that's why the PSA 9s and 10s are going for insane money, because pretty much anyone who has high grade is keeping it in their PC or they're grading it. So like, and guys, grading is here to stay. That could be another topic. We can talk about grading another day.
Yeah.
But I was skeptical about it, but it's here. It's like, again, like that's where flippers make their most money. They're buying cards for $40, getting a PSA 10, selling it for $400. Like, they're doing this in like bulk. Like, this is bigger than most of us can wrap our heads around. So again, that stuff is here to stay. But again, like we're not in a bubble. Like, I mean, I see this hobby growing and growing. Again, the more common stuff, like I am Carlos said, things like that. Yeah, like again, don't overpay for those types of things.
Yeah.
But the rarities, that kind of stuff, the stuff you don't see often, or certain top cards in really good condition, certain things like that, like jump on that stuff because it's not going to be around forever.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I like one thing that I think people should remember, like listen to all of us and the other two that are going to join us in the future, is we're all collectors at heart. The whole market thing, we're talking about it because it helps us fund to get the cards we really want. Cartel said that perfectly, and that's why I'm doing the Young Guns thing. I've got 40 of them that I'm stashing away for a year, 2, 3, I don't know. Maybe Nick Suzuki's going to be Connor McDavid one year. But that will help me get a Tebow card, so I don't have to think, oh man, I can't pay that extra $50. No, you just get the card and now it's yours. Like, I think that's what I like about hearing all this advice from you guys is we're all collectors at heart. We are not here to be flippers. We're not here to take advantage of the market, but I mean, you have to be aware and study the trends, so you're not surprised, so you're ready when that card finally hits the market. So, man, it is crazy. It is a crazy time right now, guys, but in a good way. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Vinny. So anyways, well, hey, I don't know about you guys, but I've really enjoyed this. I think there's a lot for a new collector or even somebody who's been around to chew on with this little podcast we did, the video cast we did, to just sit here and listen to some of the advice. And as I've said again, we're always happy to help out. So reach out to any of us. I mean, we all have different amounts of expertise that we can offer you. And yeah, definitely don't feel afraid to reach out and talk to us a little bit more. That's what's great about Instagram. Any closing thoughts from anybody before we wrap this up? Bueller? Okay.
Buy it now.
Well, buy it now at a reasonable price, though, right, Cartel? Like Jimmy said, do the research. If you see a Grant Fuhr rookie and it's like $500, like, oh my God, I've always wanted one. Boom, click, and now you've noticed that they're all selling for $250. Like, careful what you're gonna do because it does affect the next guy that goes, well, the last one sold for $500, and then you're just totally. You're totally screwing yourself out of a card.
That's actually a very good point. You make that purchase and you are in. We've never been in more of a situation where you can affect a worldwide market with you at home pressing a button. So that's very true, especially when it comes to the high graded OPG stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Great point that you bring up. Well,
No doubt.
No doubt, for sure. Well, I do want to say too, we really didn't talk about hockey other than Joel Farabee and a couple other guys, but I hope you're all enjoying the season. I know I am. I mean, we're 5 days in here. Penguins actually won a game today, so Vinny and I are quite excited about that. The Canes
won last night.
What's that? Who won last night?
Wings won last night.
Yeah,
so.
Let's not talk about that. That wasn't fun for me. They look great though, man. But that's the thing. This season is going to be. Penguins could win 10 in a row from now on. Never expect that. You just don't know what's going to happen this season, and I'm quite excited to kind of touch on that next week with you guys a little bit more. Is just to see, we're going to be following the market trends. Some of these players that are performing well, and it'll be great to see some of the storylines.
I don't know if Miles or some of the goaltender collectors in here are big fans of Jordan Binnington like I am, but it was not fun watching him have his soul taken out of his body and thrown into the dumpster.
Well, and Ville Husso. I mean, he and Jordan both got absolutely obliterated. Tristan Jarry. What about Tristan Jarry? I mean, he has no soul right now. And they just signed him to a big contract. So it has not been a good week for goaltenders unless your name is Vitek Vanasak. He had a great game. He had shut out Georgiev. Exactly. What? Elias Samsonov, or he hasn't looked great. And then, of course, Shesterkin, man. Shesterkin, his stuff was insane. His future watch was $300. I mean, and his young guns was up to 80, 90, 100, and he got smoked. So, yeah, goaltenders have been treated poorly so far. So hopefully they rebound. But yeah.
Well, I guess we can get in.
Go ahead, Miles.
I was just going to say, we saw it at 94, 95. Guys perform differently over a shortened season, so there's going to be some pretty weird stuff going on this year.
Absolutely.
All right, let's end with this. I have a fun idea. Let's end with this. 30 seconds each. Give me a bold prediction about a player or the season that probably won't happen, but it could because it's just a shortened season, crazy stuff. Who wants to start? Give me a bold prediction.
First Canadian team to win the Cup since '93. I don't know who it's going to be. I've got a feeling.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think that we're going to see another oddball goalie situation like David Ayres, just given the whole COVID situation. And again, depending on how many goalies they're carrying, there could be a situation last minute where it could come out where their goalie coach, who could be a former NHLer, could end up going in net. Like in football, I forgot which team they're practice team wide receiver, started at quarterback, and he hadn't started at quarterback since his college days, like 5 years ago. I forgot what team that was, but I feel like there's going to be a really awkward, weird storyline that happens that everyone's going to be talking about. So I'm excited to see what happens.
All right. Anybody else?
I'll go out on a limb. I don't think it'll happen, but somebody will score 50 goals, 50 and 56. I don't think it'll happen, but I'll just throw something bold out there.
Nice.
I like those
I
predictions.
saw the McDavid bold one with 100 points in 56 games. I didn't want to steal that, but I like that one.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of successful Finnish players. There's a hot take for you.
Wow, I mean that was going out on a limb, Cartel.
It's like those Swedish players
Yes,
coming out of nowhere.
Vinny, what about you? You got a bold prediction? You big hockey fan?
Some people will play good, some people will play bad.
Will there be people that play bad that people expect to play good, though? I mean, I'm talking, we've seen a couple just so far.
I just let it roll. The predictions are not my forte. I just like to see it unfold.
Well, I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that somebody's going to win the Vezina this year that people were not expecting to have a shot. Now, I said Jari at the beginning as being my homer team, but I think you're going to see somebody like Gorgiev. I know he just has one shutout, but he's not only going to take over from Shesterkin, but he's going to be a beast. Like something like that, I think can happen this year, whether it's due to injury or COVID or whatever. I think you're going to see some surprises unless Tampa Bay just wins all the time, and then that's a done deal. We'll know who's won that. So, but cool. Well, we're at an hour and 30 minutes, guys. This has been great. I think I'm really excited already for the next episode. I hope everybody enjoyed it that was here. I want to say thanks to Vinny, Miles, Cartel, Jimmy, Nick for taking the time out to be here today. You guys are awesome on Instagram and a huge, valuable part of that community. So hopefully we can get Batnob Cursive and Dollar Rookies in here when he's not at the playground. That'll be nice.
Sounds
So
a
a
little
couple
creepy.
of I know exactly. Yeah. With his daughter, yeah, right. We were all
He'll
hoping
appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we were all hoping that he would come live and be like, "So, guys, I think, whoa, wait," and like have some go flying past the screen, like
Dad mode. My
Yeah.
kid's about to fall off a slide real quick. So
Right, for sure. Well, we'll catch you guys. We're gonna plan on doing it on Sundays. We might be at a different time to try to get Dollar and Batnob Cursive in here, but I will post that on Instagram and let everybody know. But again, thanks for being here, and we'll catch y'all next week. Have a good one, guys.
all right, later.